if you can see my screen and I'm good. Okay, super. Just want to make sure. I'm very excited to have all of you on today. I was so humbled and encouraged by the participation of this meeting, by who all were registered. I looked back through the names and, you know, I'm right at probably today or tomorrow is my 2-year anniversary. And I look back and I see the people that I have developed relationships with. There are so many fine people all over Alabama that are working for a better workforce. You know, shout out to our wonderful executive board and regional workforce council. They, you know, really are there working, and I encourage you, if you, you know, come to these meetings and you have ideas and you have, or even challenges that you want to discuss, every county has a regional workforce council representative. Actually, you have 2. So, and that information can be found on our website. So if ever you want to talk to someone about workforce in your area, please look them up. You can always come to me or anyone of our team, but, you know, feel that that's another way to bring them on board. I'm going to take just a couple of minutes, and I'm trying to be aware of my time here. Now I'm down to 5. So take a couple of minutes and update you on some happenings, and then kind of give you a preview of where we want to go in this coming year. Like Karen said, we're very excited about many things going on and the many processes that are coming, you know, kind of aligning, and a lot of good stuff. So just to hit the high notes here, our industry sector meetings for 2021, we have a healthcare sector meeting scheduled for February 11th. Our other sectors, manufacturing, construction, hospitality, they will all be meeting in the first quarter, and just keep your eyes on our website or our monthly newsletter, and we'll let you know when those are. Encourage you that if you're in any of these sectors, to attend the meeting or to invite someone that you know. The power of the collective is what I say for that, because if you band together, there's so many things that we can do, training programs we can put in place, but we need to hear from you. Regional Workforce Leadership Training, I'll remind you again that that training is being scheduled through us, specifically through Sabrina, and you can reach her here anytime, S. Wood at centralalabamaworks.com. Upcoming in the spring or winter spring, February, March, 2 dates in March are all Leadership 1. This is a 2-day class, and it is being offered virtually and at no charge. So if you have members of your organization that could benefit from leadership training, we certainly encourage you to take advantage of that. Very high quality training. Our Educator Workforce Academy will be beginning a 3rd cohort, or 2nd this year, virtual cohort, on March 16th. I encourage all of those superintendents, assistant superintendents, CTE directors, maybe even curriculum directors. We would love to have you be a part of that. That is, at this time for K-12, we're looking at doing some things with community college, but we would love to have you all a part of that. It really develops quite a camaraderie among people that can share ideas and have others to call on when you're dealing with some workforce and student pathway issues. And of course, our Career Coach Connect meets January 28th. They are our fabulous group that lets us know what's going on, you know, in our schools and within the programs. Some new information. I know we have discussed career discovery. Well, I don't think we have. I think the last time we met was September, and we were talking about how COVID would impact it. We have gone to a virtual platform, which is under construction. Very excited about this. A matter of fact, 4 of our regions are using the same person, and so we're all kind of collaborating, throwing ideas off each other. It's going to be an interactive, gamified feel. I did not know that was a word until I started working in this, but that just means, you know, very interactive, looking like a video game in some ways, but able to really capture their attention. It's also going to include assessments so that we'll be able to see what do they like, you know, what are the areas that really appeal to them, and to be able to measure how many students came through. Great opportunity to reach over 8,000 8th graders in our region. You know, there are some hands-on is of course always the best, but there are restrictions in terms of buses and how much it costs and all that type thing. So we're thrilled to be able to do this virtually. We are seeking sponsors now, as well as content content is going to be critical because we need those either video or interactive or, the sky's the limit, but we can help you come up with that. So if we do have business and industry interested, please don't hesitate to reach out to us or we will be reaching to you. Our target date now is April, just because all of this is a little more complicated, I think, than we thought when we first got in, and we want to do it right. So we're pushing that time to April, and we'll have a definite date for you in the next coming couple of weeks. Our Career Discovery website has been updated, and we are adding resources for educators that will be out by the end of February as we celebrate CTE month. And we are also developing a top 5 in 5 digital book, which will feature top industries and success stories from across our region. This book will be housed on that website and will be available for students and educators and everyone. And our desire is that it will start sparking conversation, and they'll be able to, delve deeper into the website and prepare, maybe have some idea of the career clusters they would like to look at when the Career Discovery rolls out. Looking ahead, the way I've organized this is directly off of our, sorry, as I ignore my phone, directly off of our strategic plan. We have basically the constituents we serve: board, business and industry, education and students, post-high school, workforce, and partners. And then, of course, marketing for all of this. But these are just a few of the ideas of where we want to go. Board, I know we have some new members, and we would like to have training for those members. We're looking at succession planning as well, and how we're all rolling off and rolling on, and that type of thing as we wrap up our first terms in this, or our 2 terms, but as people start to come off. Business and industry, I've already touched on industry sector meetings, and I had this in my notes, and so I'm winging this now because I cannot see my notes at the moment. But we are also within industry sector. I want to call on all of you. We are compiling our work-based learning programs. This would be more the ones that are in the community-based or business-based. Alabama Office of Apprenticeship is compiling our community college work-based learning and the K-12 work-based learning. But these would be any kind of work-based learning that's offered through, like I said, community partnerships or within your business if you have a program that you're growing. And by work-based learning, I mean co-op, internship. There's a lot of talk around how to use these terms, and Josh Laney has educated us several times and will probably educate us several more times. But some people also call it pre-apprentice. But we want to know where these programs are as they create new entry for the workforce or new employees for the workforce. So just reach out to us. You can put it in the chat. You can reach out to us after the meeting anytime, but we would love to know where those programs are. And back to looking ahead, we will continue to create and develop our industry sector meetings. We're really working at enhanced customer service, and by that I mean surrounding the business who has a challenge or related to workforce with all the partners they need, bringing the partners to you and helping to hopefully solve those problems. The Alabama Workforce Stabilization Program, I put it on here as something that you need to start familiarizing yourself with. You'll hear a lot more in the future, but this is a program coming down from one of the grants from the state, and we'll be working to help add new employees to the workforce across the region. In the education student side, we've already talked about career discovery, going virtual and its resources, also looking at doing some workforce boot camps for our guidance counselors. Oftentimes they're kind of left out of that workforce discussion, and so we want to bring them in. And then looking post-high school workforce, really partnering with our Career Center. We do already, but we really want to look at how we can better serve, better align through hiring events, things such as that. We've done some virtual hiring events, and we'll be doing some more. So I encourage business, if you're interested in that, please reach out to us. And also nonprofit outreach. This is something kind of near and dear to me because I think that there are a lot of people that we could reach to assist with their workforce pathway through nonprofits. Our nonprofits around the state do such outstanding work, and coming alongside them and helping support the constituents they serve, I think would be a great, really elevate all involved. And on with partners, we're looking at economic development, bringing our economic development partners together for quarterly meetings, as well as our community college workforce partners together for meetings. And of course, building on our collaboration and communication with adult ed. We've not done a whole lot with that sector of the community college, what they offer through adult ed, but there's a lot to be done and a lot of opportunity there. And then, of course, marketing is ongoing, but we're really trying to learn how to tell some success stories. Sabrina's done some awesome work with some of our students coming out of CTE and going straight to work, or kind of their path through that. And we're looking to highlight that in as many ways as possible, really to try to show various pathways, not just one, not just 2 year, 4 year straight to work. There's all kind of winding pathways. And revamping our website is something that we're looking at too, just to make it more user-friendly, have everything but not to be redundant. So that's important to us as well. All right, flown through that. It's 1:15, and I believe that it is time. Let me quit sharing so that I can call on some of our great speakers today. We have some wonderful opportunities to be shared with you today, wonderful stories. First up today that we will be celebrating, I guess, or this is very interesting and very timely, but we're going to be hearing from Ty Boos at SciO2. And Ty, I don't have my notes, and so I don't have her title. Sabrina, share with us.
Ty is the Training and Development Manager for SciO2 Material Science. She's going to talk about Operation Warp Speed. And yes. Ty, if you are ready, I lost you on my screen. If you're ready, oh, there you are. People move around on your screen. If you're ready, I can go ahead and share your video. Is that good for you? Okay. So y'all go ahead and give me just a second.
Sabrina, the audio is not playing. At least not from me. I don't know, you may be hearing it.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
The audio, I'm not hearing the audio.
You're not hearing the audio? No. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad y'all stopped me. I was just enjoying. Okay, hold on just a second.
Anxiously waits for a COVID-19 vaccine.
Did that work?
Video's not shared. There it goes.
Okay, so you were hearing it? Okay. that a no?
It was it's fine. We don't have to play. It's okay.
Sorry.
That's fine. The reason I was going to play it is because it's sort of a nice visual. It's an introduction to the science behind what we're doing here, but the technology of what we're doing, and it shows a comparison of the vials that we have versus traditional glass vials and the pressure that they're able to withstand. A traditional glass vial, for example, would sort of shatter under about 400 pounds of pressure, where ours, you can go up to about 1,200 pounds and it just sort of bends. So it's just a nice visual, but it's perfectly fine. No worries at all. We'll sort of talk through
Well, I can actually put the link in the chat.
Okay,
so people can see the video later. So if you want to go ahead and start talking, Ty, I'll put it there, and then they can check it out later.
Will do. That sounds great. Thank you. So I hope you guys will forgive me. I've sort of have you guys spread out over several screens here. My camera is on top, but I have your lovely faces sort of spread out over some screens here. And so hopefully you'll sort of bear with me if I'm trying to sort of look at your faces. My name is Ty Boos, as they introduced me earlier, and I'm responsible for training and development at SiO2 Material Science here in Auburn. I do see a lot of familiar names and faces in the meeting, so it's kind of neat to see that. Several of you probably know me from my previous life with the Auburn Technical Assistance Center at Auburn University. It's part of ATN. And I partnered with many of your companies to deliver training or provide coaching over the last several years. And so I'm just really excited to be with you today and to be able to share with you just a little bit about the SiO2 story and how we came to be so sort of intricately involved in the distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine. So let's talk about that. Obviously, 2020 was a mess, right? As the world sort of began to face this global pandemic and research was being done to ready a vaccine, a few significant challenges sort of emerged in our industry. And one was that there would be a shortage of traditional glass vials available whenever a vaccine was ready for distribution. And then secondly, among other things, as you would have seen in the video, glass vials present some significant problems when we talk about their fragility and their sensitivity to time and temperature and pressure, things like that. Some medical supplies obviously are also made with plastic, which we all also know can be sensitive to temperature and to moisture and other things. And so specifically with things like an mRNA vaccine, those need to be housed and transported in extremely low temperatures. And so problems with glass and with plastic sometimes are compounded when we talk about lower temperatures. I used the term mRNA just a second ago, which may be new to some people. Let me explain that really quickly. mRNA stands for messenger RNA or messenger ribonucleic acid. And mRNA is a single-stranded molecule of RNA that corresponds to the genetic sequence of a gene. And so essentially what the vaccine is doing is using a copy of mRNA, which is a natural chemical, to produce an immune response in the body. But because of the nature of the vaccine, like I said, it's got to be stored and transported at extremely low temperatures. So enter SiO2 Material Science and our smart vials. A lot of times people go, well, what makes them so smart? The first thing is that we provide a very specific type of package. And the simplest explanation of that is that it's sort of a fusion of plastic and glass, but it's really unlike anything that's been done before. It marries sort of the benefits of both of those things without any of the downsides, without the shattering, without it being sensitive to temperature and time and those sorts of things. So I will show you an example of some of the vials that we make here. This is our 10 milliliter vial. I don't know if you can see that really well on your screens. But that's one example. That's sort of our bread and butter at the moment. But the vial is pretty small, as you can see, but it's relatively indestructible. I mean, you could throw this thing on the floor. I won't do that. You could run over it with your car. It would not break. The plastic shell of the vial has a nano layer of glass, which is really undetectable by the human eye. It's 50 to 80 times thinner than a human hair. And it's really able to withstand an immense amount of pressure without shattering. It would simply sort of bend. I think what I'll do is sort of go through some information as if it were an FAQ. And one of the questions that we always get asked, almost always is first, is how did we become involved with Operation Warp Speed? So think pre-summer 2020. Our company was targeting a portion of the market, a class of drugs known as biologics. And we probably all know somebody, maybe we ourselves, or somebody that we know who takes a biologic drug. So this would be something like Humira or Enbrel, something like that. We've spent the last decade plus developing our technology and distributing it on a smaller scale. I think what a lot of people don't understand necessarily is that the research and development that was needed for the COVID vaccine itself was being worked on long before we even uttered the phrase COVID-19. And that goes for the technology behind our products as well. We just simply had a different focus prior to summer 2020. So pre-pandemic here in Auburn, we had fewer than 150 employees. We had one manufacturing facility, or one facility, which was primarily R&D, but we were producing 3 to 5 million of these 10 milliliter vials per year. So that was pre-pandemic. And then in June of 2020, you may have seen this in the news, we received a $143 million grant from the U.S. government to supply primary containers to store and administer the COVID-19 vaccine. And when I say primary containers, I'm talking about things like vials, syringes, testing equipment or testing supplies, things like that. So that was pre-summer. Right now, we have over 500 employees, and we've expanded our operations from one facility to 3, and we have a 4th in the works as well. And instead of producing 3 to 5 million vials per year, we're doing about 3 to 5 million per month. And so we've been able to significantly ramp up our production in a relatively short amount of time, in order to meet the need of the customer, the need of really the world, if you think about it. And so we've been able to do that, number one, due to the nature of our manufacturing process. When we looked at traditional glass vial manufacturers, they were giving an estimate of 12 to 24 months to be able to ramp up, to be able to meet the need in the industry, in the market. But we were able to ramp up in 4 to 6 months, which is obviously a much shorter period of time just due to the nature of our processes. The second reason we were able to do that, and I say this wholeheartedly, is due to the commitment and the hard work of this really incredible workforce that we have here. We are a 24-hour operation. We have been working around the clock through, all the rises and falls and infection rates and through holidays and all of that. And our folks here really understand the critical nature of the work that we're doing and the importance of our role in helping to inoculate the masses, if you will, from this horrendous virus. I would venture a guess that all of you on the call know someone who has had the virus. Maybe you yourself have had it. Several of us have lost loved ones. My father-in-law, we just lost him a couple of weeks ago to complications from the virus. And so this hits home. Our folks really understand how important it is, how critical the work is that we're doing. And so it's because of that commitment, it's because of their hard work and their work ethic that we've been able to ramp up and to be able to meet the need. And so I always just want to give them that acknowledgement and the credit for us being able to do what we've been able to do. So another question that we're often asked is how the events of 2020 changed our business plan. And the truth is that it didn't so much change it as it did accelerate it, if you will. Because of the grant, and our involvement with the COVID-19 vaccine distribution, we've been able to expand and grow to an extent that really would have taken us several more years likely to reach, probably 3 to 5 more years to be able to get there. But this was always in our plan. This was always a goal for us to be able to have this kind of growth and to be able to expand and build new facilities and all of that. And then as a follow-up to that question, there were obviously a lot of challenges that we faced. People want to know, well, how did you get there? What did you have to overcome? And so there were a lot of challenges from both a physical standpoint, but also a logistical standpoint. So not only did we need more manufacturing space and we needed more warehousing space, But there were some things that we didn't actually think about too much ahead of time. One of our leaders uses the phrase parking lots and potato chips, meaning that if we're going to hire several hundred new people, we need to make sure that we have a place for them to park and enough space for them to take a break, eat their potato chips, eat their lunch, and that type of thing. So in the beginning, we really didn't have enough space for parking, and we didn't have enough space for folks to go and take their breaks and eat their lunches. But I share that with you to say, we all have things that we don't necessarily do 100% right every single time. So I'm just being very transparent to say we definitely went through, we had a learning curve there, we had some challenges, and we've obviously addressed all of those issues and won't make those same mistakes again. But just being very transparent with you guys. With my last couple of minutes, I will address just one other FAQ that we almost always get. I know I've gotten it 1,000 times in the last 6 months, and that is, what's next? So what happens once COVID-19 is under control, right? So a big portion of what we're doing, our focus right now is on helping with this distribution of the vaccine for COVID-19. But thankfully, the technology that we have developed, it really has a variety of other commercial applications. So yes, it will, can and will be, continue to be used in relation to COVID-19 in that vaccine and whatever iterations it may go through, however it may change, it can still be used for that. But it's also useful at other pharmaceutical levels as well, things like vials and syringes and testing equipment. We have over 300 patents on the process, on the products, on the quality standards, all of that. And what we've invented is something called plasma enhanced chemical vapor deposition. If you're interested in the technology itself, it's really interesting. It's really cool. It's highly used in Silicon Valley for microchip development. And so you can kind of Google that and see how it's used there. But our bread and butter at this point really is supplying those primary containers to store and administer various drugs. Specifically, our products are useful in, if you think about things like rheumatoid arthritis, other chronic therapies, multiple sclerosis, advanced cancer therapies. There are some ophthalmic indications for things like macular degeneration and other things like that. It's really not new for us. These more advanced technological drugs have always been a primary market for us. It just so happens that these mRNA vaccines that we're seeing now just sort of fit nicely into that category, if that makes sense. But the great news for our employees is that even beyond COVID-19, we have a very large, very healthy pipeline of uses for our products. It just so happens that the COVID-19 vaccine is our focus at the moment. I am keeping a watch on time, Jindy. I think that's my time. I do hope I was able to share enough with you guys about the advancements that we're making in biotechnology here in Auburn and how they are affecting not just businesses here in Alabama and individuals here in Alabama, but really around the world. The companies that we're working with, obviously the U.S. government, Canadian government, Moderna, several other companies and folks like that. So I'm looking at faces, I'm seeing some head nods. I don't know that I have a ton of extra time, but I hope I was able to share enough with you guys and maybe, let you know a little bit more about the story here at SIO2.
Ty, thank you so much. It is so interesting, but yet, just very interesting from a standpoint of workforce challenges are usually, we can't find workers, Rarely do you think about ramping up in a very short amount of time and how does that affect everything? So it's very interesting, and I hope everyone else found it as interesting as I did. I've been watching you through the news and seeing how it goes. So appreciate your time, and I know you all will have much continued success. Next, we would love to hear from Julie Phillips, who is with Dixie Electric. And we asked Julie to come on today to speak specifically about apprenticeship. We try to have a range of things for business and industry, whether it be a success story or an interest, kind of a human interest story as SIO2 is right now. And Julie has an outstanding story about their apprenticeship program. When I came on 2 years ago, I was invited, I think my second day, to come over to Dixie Electric for their sign-on of their apprentices. And, you know, wow, 2 years has passed, but I just want people to know that this is such an awesome opportunity, you know, for a career pathway that is sometimes overlooked. I mean, Alabama's done a great job of really making awareness, you know, creating the awareness of apprenticeship programs. But I want Julie to speak to you today in her own words. So take it away, Julie.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be with you. As she said, my name is Julie Phillips. I am the Human Resource Manager and the Company Counselor here at Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air. Just wanted to talk to you briefly today about our apprenticeship program. I'm going to try sharing my screen. All right. Can we see my presentation?
Not yet, but maybe
Not yet.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can make you the presenter.
Okay.
See if that gives you the option.
All right. Yes. All right.
Great, we've got it.
Perfect. Okay. Just briefly, history of apprenticeships. Guesstimation when apprenticeships started, probably go back a lot longer than most people realize. Apprenticeships actually have been around since medieval times. The idea behind the apprenticeships have not really changed. It was to train an employee to give them the knowledge and the ability to become an expert in their field. Research shows that in 2019, that 3.5 million skilled trade jobs were developed in the United States, but over 2 million went unfilled. Reasons for the shortage in skilled labor is due to high retirement rate of skilled laborers and also a decline in students participating in vocational programs in high school. The apprenticeship program in the U.S. In 2019, only about 5% of people in the U.S. received training as an apprentice, whereas in Germany, over 60% of employees receive apprenticeship training. A little bit about Dixie's apprenticeship program is the idea started in 2019. It was just a discussion between several employees that we wanted something in-house where we could bring people in who had absolutely no electrical knowledge and train them, give them the ability to become a skilled electrician. We were actually certified at the very end of 2018. As Sabrina, as they said, we also had our signing in the very beginning of 2019. And we started the apprenticeship classes also in 2018. Our training objective of the apprenticeship program is apprenticeship participants will have the foundation of knowledge and ability to obtain the state of Alabama certification as a journeyman electrician by the end of the training. Program candidates will experience the theory necessary to understand the 2020 National Electrical Code, also called the NEC. Dixie's program is a 4-year program. Our employees who are in the apprenticeship program go to class 1 night a week. In addition to class, employees receive on-the-job training. All members of the apprenticeship program currently at Dixie are full-time employees. So when they're getting the in-class, they're also getting the on-the-job training. And so they get over 8,000 working on-the-job hands-on hours during the program. And the program is open both to our Montgomery and our Auburn-Opelika employees. Requirements to be an apprentice at Dixie is apprentice has to be 18 years old, and those are due to OSHA safety guidelines. They do not need any type of formal electrical training. They need to be able to follow directions, and they also need a valid driver's license with a good driving record. Brief overview of what each year entails. Starting off in year 1, safety is very important, especially in the electrical trade, as it is in most. They also start learning about theory and start to understand the 2020 National Electrical Code. And they also are introduced to general wiring requirements, outlet box sizing, raceway sizing, and bonding and grinding. In addition to, they will learn how to use different tools, including a multimeter. Year 2 is also a very book-based learning, continue to learn about safety, the NEC, and they will learn a greater knowledge of different wiring, different methods used. Once they get into year 3 of the apprenticeship program in class, it will become more of a hands-on. They will start using and looking at different motors and controls, continue to learn about safety and safety guidelines, and they're also introduced to different applications, solar, energy storage systems. And then year 4 covers code calculations, which is something that's very important to be a journeyman electrician, and they'll continue their safety training. We also try to start building the leadership skills needed to excel on the job. And during the 4th year, they're introduced to alarm basics. Upon completion of the program, they will have the knowledge and ability to become a journeyman electrician and receive that certification. They also will receive a certification of completion of internship from the Department of Labor Office of Apprenticeship. On-the-job training, as I said, they get over 8,000 hours while they're doing their apprenticeship program. So they are paired with an experienced electrician. That experienced electrician is meant to be their mentor. Possible responsibilities on the job is to assist the electrician and follow the electrician's instructions. They're asked to measure, cut, bend wire, bend conduit, use different instruments and hand tools. They also perform semi-skilled and unskilled laboring duties, including installation, maintenance, repair of a wide variety of electrical systems. They also are asked to keep tools, keep the work area clean, keep the vans clean, vehicles clean, and the equipment up to order. They will also be responsible for installing, repairing, maintaining various electrical wiring systems. And also safety is very important in understanding building regulations. So I have a brief video I want to show you. Let me see. Sorry, give me one moment.
There is a shortage in the electrical trade, and we didn't see the talent coming in, so we decided that the best thing to do was train our own.
I'm Stephen Cooper, and I'm an electrical apprentice. I was in 8th grade. Electrical trade had my attention. Went to school every day, learned as much as I can, and then I had the opportunity to apply for this job. That's how I ended up here today.
Stephen's a great kid, comes in your office first thing, smiling, shaking your hand. We started the apprenticeship program so that we would be able to train our own employees rather than hire from outside. They're earning wages because they're an actual employee that's working in the fields during the daytime and going to class at night. Stephen's in his 2nd year of apprenticeship. He's doing great. He's even serious in the classroom. He does what it takes in order to learn every aspect of the trade.
Because I knew it will make an impact on my future. I think this job is important because not everyone has the skills to interpret blueprints and understand the electrical code.
It's a 4-year apprenticeship program. We have class 1 night a week and preparing to pass your journeyman. Stephen is paired with a journeyman electrician that he would work with in order to be mentored and trained to be able to perform electrical work.
My mentors are Alan Johnson and Corey Robinson. See, I do stuff, I do it sometimes the wrong way, but they show me the proper way to do it.
It increases the staff loyalty because they feel like you're investing in them. When someone feels like you're investing in them, they perform better. The Alabama Office of Apprenticeship will come to your office, walk you through the paperwork, and help you step by step on becoming an apprenticeship program.
Give me one moment, sorry. All right, just a little bit more about our program. Currently, we have 21 Dixie employees that are participating in the program. We have 7 employees that are in the first year of the program. We have 8 employees in the second year of the program, and we have 6 employees that are in the third year of the program. Currently, very proud of him. Our first program participant to actually go take and pass his journeyman electrical license exam is Ryan Mann. Ryan was able to take his exam and pass it on his first attempt, and Ryan is a member of our commercial service team. So just, all right. But that's just a brief, very brief overview of our program. I believe that apprenticeship programs definitely are beneficial to each company. That way you are able to bring in people who may not have the experience you need, and especially in such a skilled trade as electrical, plumbing, HVAC. Not as many people right out of high school or in high school are going to the vocational schools as they were years ago. So it's a great way to bring in employees, train them, make sure that they have the knowledge, the ability, and the skills that you need for them to succeed at your company. So thank you so much. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And I don't know if you saw in the chat, but Ashley Brooks-Kelser asked if you would mind sharing your presentation with the group after the meeting, or if you would allow us to share it.
Yeah,
she said,
absolutely.
I think it would be great for other business and industry to see and leverage best practices. And that often is the way to, nudge others along to say, hey, they've got this over here, it's working out. So have you all had, just one quick question, have you all had, have they stayed with the program pretty well through the year? Have you had much dropout?
We haven't. I mean, of course, you have the one-offs, but for the most part, vast majority of, I think out of the third year, I want to say that group started with 8, but just due to they received opportunities in other fields, other companies, they have dropped out. But overall, we've had guys have stuck through it, and we try to, one thing that we do with the program is because they're getting that extra knowledge throughout the program, we do, if they come to class, they do well on, because they do have to take tests. It is like school, they have to take tests, they have to attend class, they have to participate. We do somewhat have a salary basis, so each year that they complete, they do get a little bump in salary, and this bump depends on how they've done in the class and kind of what letter grade they received. So that gives guys motivation to actually come to class, participate, do their best.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And, just keep in mind that apprenticeships are open in all different types of industry and fields. So we'll love to talk to you more about that if anyone has any interest in that. Moving on now to our last presenter, we are delighted to have Katie Boyd-Britt here today. Katie is a native of Enterprise, and you all know I spent a long time in Dothan, so we're next door, and she is a graduate of the University of Alabama with a degree in political science and liberal arts. Katie's career began in Washington, D.C. as Senator Richard Shelby's deputy press secretary and later press secretary, where she served as head of the department at 23 years of age. Katie then served as special assistant to then University of Alabama President Robert Witt. After she obtained her law degree, she practiced law with Butler Snow, LLP. And then in 2015, she took a leave of absence to serve as Senator Shelby's deputy campaign manager and communications director before rejoining his team as chief of staff in 2016. Katie was selected as president and CEO of the Business Council of Alabama in December of 2018, where she works to build a stronger business community. And that is really why we've asked Katie to be with us today. We want to hear a little bit about what BCA, kind of how you've weathered through this COVID and what you might see coming up. And we're delighted to have you, Katie.
Cindy, thank you so much. I really appreciate the invitation to be with you all and to be with so many of the people that actually make things happen in our state. I did see that we only have about 10 minutes, so I will do my best to condense so that we can kind of hit the high points. And
well, and not to interrupt you, but I will let you know, we can run a few minutes over. I was thinking just a few minutes ago that, our quarterly meetings used to be held. Well, of course, they were held somewhere within our 13 county region, which meant that someone on some side had to drive a very long way. So the power of WebEx has really allowed us, I think it's been very positive for the regional workforce just to bring the region together. I'm delighted with the number of people on the call today. And so just remember how much time you're saving by doing this on WebEx today.
That's right.
So you take your time.
I like it. Well, listen, and I see, and I'm sure I'm not seeing everyone, but I see Representative Warren on there, and she is, I tell you what, mover and a shaker. It has been a privilege to work with her, and I know I'm missing people on this small squares, but just wanted to say hey to you. I see you over there. Well, I want to tell you a little bit about BCA. So for those of you who are not familiar, Jindy has asked me to tell you a little bit about BCA, to tell you about our COVID response, and then maybe some priorities we have, or just depending on time, maybe I can just kind of tell you some of the things you might see this session, although I might need to toss it over to Representative Warren to actually tell you what's going to really happen. But I'll tell you, BCA is really, it's a unique entity, because to me, it's kind of sort of the cross of business and politics. It is very much like a state chamber of commerce, but like I like to say, kind of with a strong political arm, meaning that we are working day in and day out to make sure both in Washington, D.C. And in Montgomery that we are representing the interest of our business owners across the state so that they can provide jobs, good paying jobs for our workforce, for so many of the people that you represent. I will tell you, we do have a partnership with the local Chamber of Commerce through CCAA. So we work with the 102 local chambers across the state, making sure that we can drill down into each community and can be a resource in that regard as well. BCA is a unique entity, and I'll tell you, I took the reins at the beginning, as she mentioned, of 2019, and have worked diligently the last 2 years to make sure we were the kind of organization that we needed to be to really move the state forward. And just to kind of touch on what that means to me is that means not just worrying about big business, but looking at what small business owners need and medium-sized business owners need, and figuring out how we can make sure they all flourish. It means getting back to core business principles and creating not only a fair and equitable tax structure, but again, one that allows us as a state to grow. And looking at what we have now and looking at our workforce now, but also looking kind of down the pipe and 21st century jobs and figuring out how we lay the proper infrastructure to attract and obtain that workforce and those jobs in the future. Also really looking, not working just with the majority party, making sure that we're working with the minority party, bringing all sides to the table. I found in my time in DC that the best pieces of legislation are the ones where no one leaves 100% happy. I think in that moment, you've had to give a little in order to kind of get a little, and when you have something where you've got a lot of different perspectives at the table and those things have been thought about and really taken into account, that's when we get some of our very best things going and moving and in the right direction. Also, not just looking at urban areas. So that was kind of sort of one of the things that I heard a lot when I came in, and wanting to make sure, I mean, the majority of our state is rural, and making sure that in each thing that we do, whether that's economic development incentives or whatnot, or looking at the Alabama Incentives Modernization Act from 2019, that we are finding ways to make sure our rural communities have a chance to have a piece of that and find ways to grow and thrive. So, and then also too, we want to be the kind of organization that when we tell you we're going to do something, then by gosh, we're going to do it. And we treat people with respect, knowing that your adversary on one issue may very well be your ally on the next. And so we want to be the kind of people that build relationships. I heard you talk about relationships earlier, and make sure that people know that they can count on us for doing what we say we're going to do. So that's a little bit about BCA and kind of my thought process on the way that we conduct ourselves and what our job is. I'm the daughter of 2 small business owners, so when I talk about that, it's something that I am incredibly passionate about, and I've seen firsthand kind of the implications of bad policy or burdensome regulations can have on families and workers and communities at large. So we have done a lot of things over the last 2 years, but she asked me particularly to talk to you about some of the things that we did during COVID. So during COVID, we really kind of sprung into action, so to speak, and we made every single thing that we did, it was not available just to our members, but it was available to anyone who wanted to utilize it as a resource, so anybody across the state of Alabama. We started with a small business exchange. So we did on April 9th and 10th, we did a 2-day telethon. I know you have not heard those words in years, but the telethon was great. We had everyone from the governor, lieutenant governor, Rosemary Elabash of NFIB. We had top bankers and accountants, and the point of it was to say, and the attorney general, was to help people understand what resources were available and what they needed to do to be able to capitalize on those resources. And additionally, how to navigate kind of ever-changing OSHA or CDC guidelines, or even orders that were coming down from the state, and making sure they knew how to be in compliance. So that was really a great success, because on this telethon, we opened up the phone lines for 2 days, and we had top attorneys, top bankers, top accountants from across the state to just answer people's questions for free. We knew, at the time, the PPP funding coming down from the CARES Act was on a first come, first served basis. And so it was incredibly important that we help every Alabamian get what they needed, get their questions answered, and get in line. So that was a great success. We moved on to being obviously part of the governor's coronavirus task force and working through that. Obviously, we also worked with the governor for liability protection, that executive order. And just so that you can kind of sort of understand what that is not a free pass. That is not a free pass for businesses to not do what they need to do to keep their employees and their customers safe. In fact, it incentivizes that. It's saying if you are doing these things to keep your employees and your customers safe, then you do not have to worry about frivolous lawsuits. So it was something that we were very passionate about. We had a lot of small business owners that were incredibly concerned about just keeping their doors open, and had, I think this gave people some peace of mind that if I do the right thing and I'm working hard to make sure that everyone's safe, that's just one less thing I can worry about. Also, we worked with the lieutenant governor at the governor's direction on reopening Alabama responsibly. We also did Engage Alabama, which was another 2-day summit. This was a virtual conference of sort, again, free to all Alabamians, where we went through and talked about how do you get forgiveness? How does your business get forgiveness for these PPP loans? Or talked about some, ever-changing guidelines or some economic development stuff. So we, again, opened this up to all Alabamians in hopes that it would be a resource for them. You could pick and choose what you wanted to come and see. And we really got excellent feedback from across the state. So again, it was something that was very successful, and we were proud to have put on. Also, we did kind of small business spotlight from around the state, just highlighting the innovation that we saw from our business owners and how they got their products to people. And that was a really neat thing to see and to celebrate the resiliency of Alabamians and our Alabama workforce. And then last but not least, we worked on Keep Alabama Open. And that is to say, it's a reminder, hey guys, we got to do our part. You got to wash your hands. You got to stay 6 feet apart. You've got to wear your mask. We've got to do these things if we want to keep our doors open. And it is imperative that our small businesses, our businesses across the state are able to keep those doors open so that they can keep people employed and people can keep their families employed and we can keep children in school. As you all know, from a workforce perspective, there is a significant concern about the gap, not just with students across the state and kind of that learning lag that they have had through COVID, but also kind of that further gap between have and have nots and how this has really elevated so many issues. And you've been able to see them from broadband and access and kind of all kinds of things. So we believe that we will be best if we can stay engaged and keep Alabama open. And I said last, but there was one more thing I remembered is Revive and Revive Plus. So we worked alongside of several different associations, NFIB and the Restaurant Association, among others, to really advocate for the Revive and then Revive Plus grants, which are grants, not loans, direct payments to businesses across the state. And we were hopeful, we really wanted to make sure we could get that infusion of capital into people's hands and wanted to give the business owner as much leeway as possible to figure out how they needed to use that to keep people employed. So those are some of the things that we did. You'll see some of that kind of come up in the session, and I know we are already past 2, so I will be very brief on this. This coming session, I think probably right out of the gate, the liability executive order that I talked to you about will probably be discussed in legislation form. Also, economic development incentives, and so those are things that obviously affect all the things that you do, so the Alabama Jobs Act and the Growing Alabama Tax Credit. So you're familiar with those and their passage in 2015. They sunsetted in 2020. The governor did an executive order to kind of give some time to allow the legislature to come back in and address those. One of the things I'm really proud of is just kind of the incorporation this time and making sure that there's rural components in this legislation. But this incentivizes jobs, it incentivizes investment in our state. And so I know that we have seen a significant return on investment, like on the Alabama Jobs Act. I think there was about a $2.3 billion worth of tax credits, and then I guess the return on investment was like about 176% to about 13, a little bit over 13 or $13.62 billion capital investment in our state. And so about almost 30,000 jobs are a result of these and a lot of other projects and that kind of thing. So we certainly want to find ways to continue to grow and expand the industry that we have in the state. So I think you'll see that one right out of the gate, and then also tax issues. So you have kind of read about this, but a lot of business owners or people took money from the government as part of the CARES Act stimulus package. And obviously in taking that, did not think that would be taxed and feel like that wasn't Congress's intent. And so there will be some cleanup of that. Again, that was something the governor did via executive order before the legislature comes back in. So I think you'll see them address that as well. A couple of other things that you might see, and I'll keep this super, super short, I promise. I do think it'll be interesting because there's going to be limited access to being able to kind of go in and speak to your representative or your senator. And so I think that it'll be interesting to see what does come up and what kind of turns controversial or maybe does not. But there's obviously many gaming proposals out there, and the governor had the gaming task force. And so I think that you'll see some bills and that really be discussed. As you all know, kind of things have shown, or I guess polling has shown that, Alabamians are interested in voting on a lottery component of that. So there's all kinds of things that go into that, but keep your eyes peeled for that. Obviously, DOJ, that our prison system is in violation of the 8th Amendment. We saw that from And we've seen that kind of be discussed. The governor put forth a plan. There are people that talk about there may be some other plan kind of coming out, but she did put forth a plan on that. And so that's just something to kind of see. I don't know if the legislature will get engaged on that or not. Broadband. So this probably, if we want 21st century jobs and a 21st century workforce, we have to have 21st century infrastructure. And so the legislature has done a really nice job of working on this the last several years. But I think we have all seen during COVID that there's so much more that we need to do. So I think you'll continue to see that on the front of everyone's mind. Obviously, social justice issues. With everything that we saw occur this summer and the dialogue that's taken place, we were very proud, the governor, under the governor's umbrella, working with the Legislative Black Caucus on various issues with regards to the business community, access to capital and equity, and then also minority business database and those kinds of things. So I believe that, along with a couple of other things, you'll likely see some of that crystallize and be addressed in the legislature. Also, Literacy Act. So as you know, the Reading Act, and this goes into kind of everything that you all are talking about, was passed, and that was a read on grade level by 3rd grade. And I'm going to keep the details or politics out of it, just kind of telling you that. I think because we were 49th in the nation there. With math, unfortunately, we were 52nd in the nation. And if you are like me, I couldn't figure out how to get to 52. I mean, I kept being like, well, I can get to 51, right? District of Columbia. But I'm like, how do I get to 52? So it's the Department of Defense. Well, we came in dead last. So I think I've heard some rumblings and talk about addressing math issues potentially, at a 5th grade level there. So you'll maybe see some of that. And then obviously redistricting, and there's talk that would be a special session, and then you hear one thing, and as Representative Warren will tell you, by the time I get any of this out of my mouth, it will be old and it will be out of date, and there will be a change in how it is addressed. So you'll have to just kind of sort of keep watching. But with redistricting, I think that will be something with the census numbers and how all that shakes out that you will certainly see happen this year. And then last but not least, and importantly for this group, is workforce development. I mean, it is not lost on any of us, and I am preaching to the choir here about the Workforce Council and what you all have come up with in 2025, that we need 500,000 new highly skilled workers, and what are we going to do to make sure that you have the workforce that you need to fill these good jobs that are coming here. And so I think that'll be something that we're continually dealing with, and we'll keep seeing. And just want to say before I wrap that up, thank you. So SIO2 is a member. It has really been a pleasure to watch what they're doing, not only for the state and the nation, but for the world. And I will tell you, with Dixie Electric, they're also a member. They won our Small Business of the Year last year. I went and visited them and was blown away by their apprenticeship program and just the way that their employee rapport and what they do. So you have two of the very best right here talking to you, and certainly proud to be their partner. But if that's good, that's kind of a brief overview, and I apologize for keeping you all a little bit longer. But thank you for what you do. You are not only what we need now, but what we have to have in the future. And any way we can partner, or if there are things that you're like, oh, we need this or we need that, you'll give us that information. We want it, we need it, because we want to be your advocate to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make your job easier, because we know the state will be successful as a result.
Thank you so much, Katie. And we ditto to that information. We want to be your partner. Got such great partners on this call and great collaboration. And that's really, what it takes for workforce development. It's not done in a silo by any means. And you've got to have multiple parties on board to move anything forward. So we appreciate your words and appreciate everyone being on the call. To wrap us up, though, we have just a few more minutes. We do want to highlight those, or at least let you see those that graduated from our last cohort for the Educated Workforce Academy. and I will be quick, and we won't pause and make them wave on if they're on the call. But I would like you to know who it is in your area and give them an attaboy, attagirl, because they're out there trying to learn more about what's going on as far as demand of workforce, and then helping prepare students coming out of their systems. So let me share this with you. All right. So many things here. All right, as you all well know, our Educated Workforce Academy prepares our educators to guide our students through pathway exploration and learn more about the regional demand. Some of the goals are to learn about high-wage, high-demand industries, to bring awareness to the importance of the students being involved in career technical courses, and then also just professional development that's designed to introduce the career pathway approach. And that's really what the state is all about right now, is the pathway approach. These are some quotes of our past participants, and I won't have you do that, but we have some awesome participants. These are the ones who completed our first virtual cohort, but that virtual cohort was complete with industry tour, industry video. I mean, we had some very creative things that went on, but a lot of great discussion. Our first is Mr. Chad McKelvey, who's the CTE principal for the Edward Bell Career Tech Center in Tallapoosa County. Petro Johnson is the CTE director for Dallas County Schools. William Powell is the CTE director for Selma City Schools. Dr. Melvin Lowe is the CTE director for Macon County Schools. Emily Johnson, who is CTE director for Elmore County Schools, and many thanks again for allowing me to come to you live from Elmore County Technical Center today. Freddie Ford is CTE director for Tallapoosa County Schools. Jason Sasser is CTE director in Phoenix City Schools. Vicki Poe is assistant superintendent for Dallas County Schools. Susan Welch is CTE supervisor with Lincoln County Schools. And if you're wondering, we don't have Lincoln County. She wanted to participate, and now she maintains her status, her credentialing in Alabama. And so she wanted to complete this program, and we were happy to have her. So that is our virtual cohort for this past year, 2020. And we're so proud of them and look forward to, just so you all know too, they are required to leave with a plan in place. They do go back with a plan of how they will incorporate their knowledge, and specifically the knowledge of the in-demand jobs and how it will affect their pathways for their students. So congratulations to them. We thank you all for being on the call. Again, don't forget, if you know of those community work-based learning programs, we would like to hear about that. Keep in touch through, check your newsletter, know when our industry council meeting, or not industry council, industry sector meetings are coming. And if we can help you all in any way between now and the next meeting, which is March, well, you're going to find out. I think it's March 13th. So it's coming to you. Nothing like being all over today. Many thanks again to Sabrina and Sarah for helping us cover the territory. Know that we have 2 jobs posted. There's more on our website if you would like to visit that. And if you know of good people who want to work with an amazing team. So we appreciate it. Many thanks to Ty and Julie and Katie. Appreciate your comments and look forward to seeing you all in March. Thank you.